So this is a daikon radish. I confirmed it. Took a bite, put it in a meal in a radish coleslaw the other night. It was amazing. And I wanted to get on here and thank you guys for helping me figure out what that was. I don't have any daikon radish seed packets in my seed collection. I've never bought them before because I've never eaten them before. I've eaten small little Easter egg radishes, never had a daikon. But I think I figured out what the issue was. But we'll get to that in a minute because I actually came out to harvest a couple heads of broccoli that look about ready. Not so much this guy. But this one, that one, and this one right here. And I'm pretty excited because I've never had like a lot of broccoli to harvest at once. I've only had maybe one plant at a time and then I put it in a meal for dinner. But I made a conscious effort this year to plant a ton of broccoli and cauliflower so that I can take it inside and preserve it. So today I have 3 heads I'm gonna take inside. I still have another head inside, half of one, that I've been cooking with various meals. But these guys I'm going to just blanch and freeze so that we have broccoli on hand for an easy, quick dinner side. And I'm so excited. So this is what I was talking about the other day when I said that broccoli would continue to produce little tiny stalks after you harvest the main head. They're gonna be about like that size. So just basically one of these little florets. It'll spout off, you know, 1, 2, 3 a month, 4 maybe. So it's not really a meal after you harvest this head. Of course, you can eat the leaves and the stalks. You can use them to make vegetable broth, etc., etc. But this is going to be the main source of food that I get, is this one huge head. Now I will leave the plants that are in here, mostly because I don't have anything else to put in here in the middle of winter. But I'll leave the plants in here to get those little tiny stalks. I'll gather up enough of them, make a meal. It's still fun and it's still useful. It's still more food than I would have had if I didn't have the plants at all. So these plants will be staying in here. Now as for harvesting broccoli, one thing you want to do is make sure that these tops are like a darker green, almost like a bluish green. When you get them too young, they're going to be lighter in green. That's not bad at all. You can absolutely eat a young broccoli. You're just not going to get as much broccoli as you would have gotten if you let it get to its full size. But once they come to full maturity, they're going to start opening up just these. Every single one of these little tiny green things inside of a broccoli head is a flower. And basically when you're eating broccoli in this form, you're eating the plant's flower. You do want to harvest these before they start flowering. They're a bunch of little yellow flowers. They're very cute and pretty. They won't hurt you. They're just not as good as eating it when they're still closed. But we're not here to be in the garden today. So I'm going to take these inside and we're going to do what I've been needing to do for a couple weeks now and start some hydroponic seeds. Real quick before we get into the seeds that I'm going to be planting in my hydroponics garden this year, I think I figured out the radish problem, the radish situation. So this is a packet of radishes from goingtoseed.org called Fukuoka's Grab Bag. It is a diverse mix of radish seeds. Let me see if I can show you guys. Look at all these different sizes, shapes, and colors, but they're all radishes. And I planted several seeds from this packet in my bed that has all of my root vegetables in it. And considering I had to go back through my seed packets of root vegetables and make sure I didn't have any daikon radishes, which I don't. I swear I've never grown the thing. I didn't even know what it was. But I did have this grab bag and I had forgotten about this packet of seeds. Because what goingtoseed.org does is they're an organization that is trying to promote genetically diverse and very environmentally resistant crops. The way they do this is from seed donations from members of the organization or just visitors to the website. I mean, you or I could send in seeds to their organization and end up in a seed packet next year. It's a really great site. I've talked about it several times before. I highly recommend you visit it. I believe it's goingtoseed.org. But they do encourage promiscuous pollination. They do encourage you, if you are going to send in seeds, not to spray your crops for anything, not to mitigate the weather in any way. They want just natural selection at its finest, the best of the best crops, so that we can all benefit from hybridization and natural selection in our environment to produce the best possible food we can, no matter where we live. And I'm pretty sure that's where these daikons came from, because there's no way to tell what kind of radishes are in here. But I wanted to thank you all so much for telling me what it was. I was very, very confused, so confused. But I got a lot of great feedback. And I myself think that's really amazing. That was a huge radish. It tasted great when I cut into it, despite its size. Like I said, I've never grown them before. But it seemed to do very well here. So I'm thinking I'm definitely gonna grow them again. I might throw a couple more of these seeds in that bed, just because why not? So I've got my seed packets here. And I've discussed this before about how I'm not going to do fruiting plants or vegetables or fruits in my hydroponics tower. I have several videos on that tower from last winter that I will link down below in the notes. I'm not sure I will be doing a lot of in-depth explaining this go round. I will go over with you starting seeds in rock wool today for hydroponics. That is very, very simple. It doesn't require a lot of explanation. But I did do a whole review of my tower and my process with it last year. So definitely reference those videos below. But what I am going to be planting this year is going to be lettuces, a couple brassicas, like kale, just 2 different kinds of kale, and then herbs, various herbs like parsley and cilantro that I can't really grow outside now because it's too cold for them to really get a good head start. And then I also can't grow in the summer because it's way too hot here in the desert to grow lettuces or a lot of herbs over the summer. They require cooler temperatures, which I don't have, but I do have them here in my house and in my awesome hydroponics tower. So we're doing this again. Even though I have tons of food growing outside, there were a lot of things that I did not start that I never got around to that I do want to be eating this winter. Big one of that is salads. So we will be starting seeds in this rock wool today, and I will go over all of the seeds that I will be starting, which is a lot. I have 48 slots in that tower for plants, and a lot of these are going to be doubles. But at the same time, a lot of it's the same thing. I have like 10 different types of lettuces here. So for the herbs first, I've got cilantro, which I do have growing outside, but I've just been on a cilantro kick lately, and I really, really, really want some more all the time. Basil, I have 3 different types of basil. This is Genovese, which is your famous Italian basil. We've got lime basil, and I have a blue spice basil in here somewhere. Here it is, the blue spice basil. Parsley, flat leaf parsley. I feel like I started some of these seeds for the fall garden and they just didn't germinate. Lemon balm. We have summer savory, which is a pretty interesting herb that I tried for the first time last year. I've never bought it at the store, but it's delightful. Oh, and I've got holy basil as well to add to my basil collection. I feel like I started this last year for hydroponics and it didn't do very well. No matter if it doesn't, I harvested an absolute metric ton of holy basil and dehydrated it for the winter, so I have plenty of tea to go around. But I'm gonna give it a second try this year. I'm not sure if it's a hydroponics thing. Some plants just don't do well in hydroponics. But we'll see. Let's see if we can get it going. And sage. I believe this is my last herb. I grow sage all the time. Not outside in the garden, but even in my little countertop hydroponics. And in my hydroponics thing last year, I grew sage and I just don't use it that much. I really want to. I dehydrated a ton of it. It's in my spice cabinet. I just never use it. So as for lettuces and other leaf-like things to put in your mouth, I I have Nero Toscana kale, also called dinosaur kale because of this scaly dinosaur skin it looks like it has. And I have a ton of lettuces, just random lettuce packets I've accumulated over the years. The first one is this Paris Island Cos. It's a romaine type lettuce. This is also a romaine type lettuce called Little Caesar. I have a Rocky Top salad blend. This blend has a bunch of different types of lettuces in it. In fact, this kind of looks like a Freckles lettuce that I have in a separate packet elsewhere. But I have tried this blend many times before, and I love every single head of lettuce that I get out of there, even though I don't know what they are, because they don't name the individual types back here. They just show you a pretty picture with colors and you spend money on it. It's quite a problem. I have this red salad bowl lettuce. It's a leaf lettuce. It's super pretty. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. And this Merlot lettuce, I have talked about this before. This Merlot lettuce does really well in my climate. For some odd reason, I grow it every year and it does well both, I mean, not in the midsummer heat, but fall to winter heat and winter to spring heat. I have had great luck with this not just immediately going to seed on me. So I do like this Merlot lettuce. I've also got a Russian red kale, or also known as ragged jack kale. It's an extremely cold, hardy kale. I could probably plant a couple of these outside and they would be fine. They'll grow faster in my hydroponics tower though, so might as well. Slow bolt arugula. Not really necessary to grow a slow to bolt variety since it will be indoors, but this would be helpful if you were growing this outdoors and you lived in a hotter climate. Arugula does not do well in heat. It's a cooler temperature, wetter temperature crop. So I never grow arugula here in the garden. It just doesn't do well for me. And this one, although it's slow bolt, just can't withstand 90 and 100 degree days in my spring. So into the hydroponics tower it is. But this was amazing last year. It grew very well in the tower, as well as this one. This Mizuna's Red Streaks Mustard grew very quickly in the tower as well and was super spicy. I loved this variety. I've never really tried another mustard variety, but this one was spicy, like wasabi almost. I really like that. You might not like that, but I thought it was amazing. So I've got all my seeds and my rock wool, and let me show you just how simple starting hydroponic seedlings is. I have more than 48 pieces of rock wool here, but I'm just gonna seed all of them in case some of them fail. As you can see, these are just single cell. Think of them as really tiny single cell pots. The seeds are gonna go in these holes right here, and the roots will grow down until it's time to take them out and put in the tower. But all you need to start hydroponic seedlings is water, rock wool, or some sort of other medium, whatever you're gonna be planting in. They have little foam ones as well if you don't wanna use rock wool, and some sort of tray. Now these do need to stay moist because there's no dirt to hold the moisture in. So I do put them in a tray, that way when I water the rock wool, it stays wet on the bottom and these plants don't dry out when they become little seedlings. So I'm just gonna get this rock wool nice and soaked. And we are ready to plant. And all planting hydroponic seedlings is taking a couple seeds and dropping them in this little hole. I will put a humidity dome over this to keep the moisture in the pan just until my seedlings germinate. But that's it. You don't need any fertilizer. You don't need a ton of pots. You don't need to buy bags of soil. It's just water, some sort of medium to put your seeds in, and your seeds. And that's quite literally it until it's time to put them in your hydroponics setup, whatever you have, and then you've got to fertilize. But So easy. It's the easiest seeding I've ever done. It's actually a little bit anticlimactic because it's so easy. It's almost not rewarding because you did hardly any work to grow it. But I'm gonna plant these seeds and catch up with you guys in just a sec. Well, that's it, guys. That's all it is. Dropping seeds in the little holes and watering it. I'm gonna put this cover on to keep the moisture in for a solid, good environment for these seedlings to germinate. And I'm just gonna put it in my grow room where I usually keep all my plants that I'm starting off in the spring. Once these germinate, I will give them some time to get a little tall, and I'll go over that when I transplant them into the hydroponics tower. But should be pretty soon. Hopefully within a week, I'll start seeing a little seedling coming up out of one of these holes, and hopefully within 2 months, we'll have a ton of lettuces and herbs growing in that hydroponics tower. But I do feel a little less stress about the hydroponics tower this year. First off, because it's my second year, so I already know how to deal with it, the problems I may or may not have, but also because I'm growing so much more food in my in-ground garden this year. Last year, it was kind of touch and go. I didn't have a lot of good harvests. I didn't plan my garden right, so the plants didn't thrive. But this year's doing good. So the hydroponics tower is more of like an extra little aside, a little fun project I get to do inside the house during this cold season where there's not much to do outside, but I still get to grow something. But that's all I've got, guys. Thank you again for letting me know what plant I was growing. Daikon radish was the overwhelming answer, and it tasted like a radish when I ate it. As well as if I just Googled the leaf structure, I mean, the leaves were exactly like a daikon radish. Nevertheless, you all helped me out as I knew you would, so thank you. And I will catch you on the next one.